You're listening to the Cantina Cast, your home for thought-provoking Star Wars talk. Join Albert and Jonesy in breaking down the latest news, trailers, movies, and of course, your favorite characters from a galaxy far, far away.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cantina Cast. My name is Albert Padilla, and this is our Day 2 coverage, our second show of the day for Star Wars Celebration 2023. This morning, we had a chance to talk in great detail, 2 hours, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
Breaking down the Ahsoka trailer. And today, we're going to kind of go over everything else high level, I think, for the most part, on some of the more interesting moments of Star Wars Celebration 2. I said earlier, Day 2, I said earlier that I didn't know we were going to get any big major announcements now. It didn't seem like that was the case, but with me also is Jonesy. Jonesy, welcome to my room. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing well. Thank you for inviting me to your room. That does not sound awkward at all.
Nope, not at all. Not in my room is Lauren. Lauren, welcome to the show. Welcome back second time today. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm in my own room, so I'm having a great time over here.
Good. Safer there than here, I can tell you that. So, all right. So we got a couple things that were announced. Just quickly for you, out of all the things that happened today, what was the one thing that stood out for you for Day 2?
Well, one of them I think is probably Lauren's moment, so I won't spoil that one. But
okay.
I think the Clone Wars panel in general. I mean, it's always this Clone Wars panel. Every time they get together, it is like a family, and they just absolutely love each other. They just absolutely love everything about each other, and the stories they tell are so engaging. Seeing Dave Filoni's journey like on this panel over the years has been absolutely incredible, because it just he gets a little more vulnerable every single time that we see him, and that's just fantastic. I just love seeing someone like Dave, who's usually somewhat reserved, very quiet, a bit of an awkward guy, be able to share more stories and just be more open with us, and it just kind of invite us into his world. And this time he gave us a little backstory of his hiring and things like that. So it was just a lot of fun, and seeing the cast and the crew interact with one another, you just feel that love for each other and how much they really respect everyone. And so it's just fantastic every single time.
Yeah. Lauren, how about you? What was the big standout moment for you today?
I had a couple that really stood out to me the most. Definitely the High Republic panel. I'm looking forward to talking about that more tomorrow, because there were some intriguing titles on that list that we saw. And a
suggested
lot of
titles. Yeah. Like
right. So that was a big one. And then I also loved the Andy Serkis interview. I thought that was really cool, and it shed a lot of light on Kino Loy's character as well.
Yeah. So is he dead?
I mean, the way that he answered that question made me think no.
Yeah, the answer is definitely no.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would track with some of the other stuff that's been said this weekend. So we'll see if that holds true. I don't know. There were some pretty good moments, honestly. I mean, the highlight is breaking down the trailer. If I want to be just selfish and say so myself, I thought we did a pretty good job with that. There was a lot of stuff that we theorized and put out there into the world, and so we're either going to look like geniuses or complete fools, or maybe somewhere in between. I think from the show though, one of the highlights, and this just happened recently. I was telling Jonesy, there's a gentleman, Tobias, who is a friend of mine, mutual on Twitter. A couple years ago, Walmart had released their High Republic T-shirts. Stay with me, I promise. There's a story here. Walmart had released their High Republic T-shirts, and I was part of it. Still am, I think, a part of a Twitter group for a lot of folks that are High Republic fans. And he had reached out and said, "Hey, I would love one of these shirts." And so I just pinged him and said, "Look, you send me the money, I'll buy you, I'll buy you the shirt," is what I actually said. "I'll buy the shirt, I'll ship it to you. Just give me your address." Fast forward to Celebration today, and he tagged me on something in Twitter where he was actually wearing the shirt. He said thank you, and he also met with Christina Ariel, Alyssa Wong as well.
I'm officially jealous.
Yeah, with that shirt. So it was just really cool to kind of see that shirt full circle come back or be out there in the wild like that. So to Tobias, if you're listening, watching, yeah, cool. I'm glad that really worked out, and pretty happy that you're having such a great time out there.
And I mean, I am shocked. You took your life in your own hands by giving this man your address.
Right. Yeah, I've not sent anything else.
Well, actually, the funny part is you already had it.
Yeah,
that's true. I
already knew it. I was just confirming, more of a confirmation. But no, I think the two things from the show though that stood out for me was the Tales of the Jedi Part 2. I really enjoyed that series, and the fact that we got that announced at the very end was just phenomenal. And then I guess, and we're going to talk about this, but the Vanessa Rowe reveal, right, that she is going to be in Acolyte. I did the math. I think it tracks to like 116 years, and there's been a lot of debate about whether or not that's the right lifespan for Marilyn's, but
we can talk about that tonight, though. I think
sure, it's probably fair game.
Debate. Yeah,
but what I liked about it was just kind of the convergence of all this stuff, right? We talked about this even, I think last night. We kind of ended the show talking about how it was cool to see all this stuff interwoven, and we were really speaking about television, movies, right, set in the New Republic era or post Return of the Jedi era. But what we weren't talking about was this, and I think this was kind of the final piece, right? To be able to tie these two media formats from television to books and novels is really exciting. So we'll see where that all kind of plays out. But I like the fact that there's been thought put into this, and that there has been an overall plan, which we already knew from the High Republic. They always went in with a plan, which is, we're seeing the fruits of that now.
Right, exactly. And maybe we can slide into some of that. I think we'll do a deep dive tomorrow on the High Republic and on Lucasfilm Publishing, because the publishing panel is tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we'll pull all that together, but we're definitely going to give you a lot of our overall thoughts and talk a little bit about this. But yeah, so maybe we just pull the Band-Aid off and we just talk a little bit about Rebecca Henderson then. Yeah.
Well, Lauren, I got a question for you. So there's been a lot of do you have the image of her up real quick? Or
I'll find it while you guys kind of chat.
So there is a picture that was released, and I don't know where. I can't remember where they actually showed her character. But again, this will be 116 years past where we met her. I guess 116 years is how old she is at this point. She doesn't have the hair, right? There are a couple things that are telltale signs of Vanessa Rowe for anybody who doesn't know. One, she's got purple hair. Two, she wields a purple lightsaber. That's a lightsaber whip. So it turns into this kind of something it was in Legends. Darth Noctis, from a canon perspective, also had one of these things. But and then the blade itself, right, was purple. So what was shocking, I think, for a lot of people, and I'm stalling because you pick this.
I'm trying.
Yeah. What was shocking though, it was her hair was completely shaved. So, and I know people were kind of shocked about that, and I figured she just went through some stuff. But I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Lauren? Do you have any theories as to what happened to her and why something that was so signature with the character suddenly just disappeared?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of time has passed. So for me, it's easy to believe that, maybe the way that she likes to wear her hair has changed. That's not a big leap for me, honestly. Also, she probably is in a very different place at this point in her life as well than she was when we met her when she was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I could see how, she's probably seen a lot at this point, gone through a lot. She's, I'm sure that changing her hair is just maybe a piece of that.
Right, there we go.
There you go. There's the picture. So she definitely looks older. Definitely looks shaven. The intriguing part of this is just this is so far in the future when we get to Acolyte compared to where we last left her off, which was at the end of phase 1, right? And there's a lot of time that passes, and so yeah, we're going to get some time jumps, and we're going to get some stuff. I think we'll get into the 1 year jump that we get from the end of phase 1 to the beginning of phase 3. But there's still a lot of years there. So she's going to have a wealth of experiences and all kinds of adventures and everything. So this feels like this is going to be a character that's kind of a through line staple through everything up until leading up into the Acolyte. And at 116 years old, I'll just go out on a limb right now and say this is probably going to be where we see her finally pass, right? Master Jedi.
Yeah, probably so. And you had asked, we talked a little bit earlier in the day offline. Why her, do you think? And I think it's a lot of it, she is young in the books right now, but she's also has a lot of promise. She's the star pupil. But I think with those come expectations, and with that come the different things in life that are going to go well. Some of the things that she's already struggled with. We know we're going to get a little bit more Emery, throughout the High Republic Phase 3 as well. But so it's really interesting that this character is the one that they choose to bring and to take with them, I guess, into the future, that makes it out of this in the High Republic timeline as we know it, and bringing her into Acolyte. So I think this makes a lot of sense. I really like the design of the robes. I think this is a great balance between what we have in High Republic with really the more formal, the very regal looking, very distinguished, a little more ornate, and with the more subdued robes that we get in the prequel trilogy once we get closer to Phantom Menace. So I think this is a really nice balance between those two environments of what we have.
Yeah. Any reservations about it being Vanessa Rowe from your perspective, Lauren? And then also, like, I mean, if she's still around, what about like Buryaga, who's going to have a very long lifespan? There's Yaddle, there's Yoda, there's probably other characters that may pop in or out here, but is there anyone else that you'd want to see, like Belle? Yeah, say Belle, please. Thanks.
I mean, I would love to see Belle, but I mean, it makes sense why they chose her because, I mean, for this far of a jump into the future, I don't think a human would work.
Right.
So that makes sense as well as what you mentioned earlier about she was someone who showed a lot of promise, even as a Padawan. So I get that as well. There were some characters that I felt like I had a deeper connection with that I would like to see, like Buryaga. I mean, I love Buryaga. He's one of my favorites, but I'm looking forward to getting to know this character more and getting to see her at a different stage in her life too.
Yeah.
Do you think Buryaga is just being buried for lack of a better word, because he's not buried, he's dead in space. But I mean, do you think they're not doing any of this because they just want to keep that mystique for right now? But there really is hope for Buryaga in the future for content like Acolyte. Do you think that's still really, it is on the table? We just can't talk about it quite yet.
I think so. I think they're probably not going to talk about Buryaga at least for another 12 hours. Like tomorrow, they were hinting at it. They were putting Charles Soule on he was on the ropes the entire time about it, right? So
even Michael Siglane was just...
Well, he was laying into him too. So I think they're going to announce it, and maybe there was a mix-up about when or where they were going to announce it. But I think as far as if I'm reading between the lines, reading the tea leaves, as I saw that panel that we'll get into more tomorrow, it feels like Buryaga is out there. It's just now they got to explain that story, which I think we'll probably get some more details on that tomorrow, which bodes well for him playing into this. Back to your question, then.
Yeah, and for Jonas to come back and play another Wookiee as well, right?
Yeah,
but it definitely sounded like we were getting some. We know, I think, Lauren, we heard that Belle, we're going to get the quest for Belle, right, to go and find Buryaga, right? So we're going to get that atmosphere of the story too. So yeah, I'm with you. I think we're going to get more on Buryaga, hopefully tomorrow with the publishing, but today would have been the day, it seems like, though.
Yeah, there also was the, I guess, official announcement. I think we missed it yesterday because it said it happened yesterday. I don't remember reading about this or where it came out, but the Wookiee that we see in the Acolyte, they've seen him. They mentioned that there was going to be a Wookiee. We'll get into the Leslie Headland interview in just a little bit as well. But Kelnaka is the name of the Wookiee.
Yeah, Kelnaka, right.
Which is a brand new Wookiee. It was Leslie's kind of creation during Star Wars. During her interview, she was kind of talking about that. So I know that's a little bit later, at least in our show notes. But relative to the conversation right now about the High Republic, we did get the name of that. So I don't know. Maybe there's going to be two Jedi Wookiees running around. We've got Buryaga and Kelnaka.
Hey, we had a whole family of them in Bad Batch, so why not?
Yeah, and a holiday special. So
we don't talk about that, though.
I do.
How about we get to some of the book names, though?
Yeah, so pull those up real quick. Okay, so this is phase 3. So trials. It's crazy to think, like, when we first started talking about the High Republic, I thought, wow, 2025 is so far ahead, and what is that landscape going to look like? What are the titles going to be? And yeah, it's just weird to think that here we are, we're finally getting them. But Trials of the Jedi, and their tagline, it is a great time of great turmoil. And the way I would capitalize kind of everybody's tone, especially Michael Sinclair's tone, this is going to be a very kind of dark time for the Jedi, right? It almost has to be, because we know that evil has to present itself. Evil has to enter here, because we're going to get the Acolyte, and we're going to get the rise of Darth Plagueis or Sidious or whatever, right? All this has got to happen at some point here. But the 3 titles, Eye of the Darkness, Escape from Valo, and then Defy the Storm. And this is just for the wave 1. Right. Did you get all the other ones too?
Yeah, I've got them all here.
Okay. So wave 1, let's talk about these real quick. Lauren, which one are you most excited if you had to pick one of these? We've got the adult novel, middle grade, and young adult novel here at the very end.
I think probably, I'm going to say the middle grade. From phase 2, one of my all-time favorite High Republic books was a middle grade. So I'm feeling especially hopeful for the middle grade. I think there's just something about that, the tone that we often find in middle grade, that really works for High Republic. And I also love Daniel Jose Older as well from Midnight Horizon. So that's probably my top of this wave, at least.
Yeah. He was pretty excited, had a lot of energy up there on the stage today. Jonesy, which of these? Any one of these particular for you?
It's got to be Escape from Valo, just because I love the idea of Daniel Jose Older and Alyssa Wong pairing up for content. I mean, Alyssa Wong's just knocking out of the park with Afro in the comic books, and DJO is just. I'm still in love with Midnight Horizon. I just can't get over it still. And his time in the High Republic Adventures in the comics, and he's going to come back to those, of course, here with Phase 3 as well. I'm just really excited about that pairing in general. I don't know. I mean, Escape from Valo seems like maybe a different flavor, the same thing we've seen, kind of wrapping up a Phase 1, integrating with Phase 3. Weird to say that jump there, but but within that context, though, I think that's pretty interesting.
I usually tend to be like the adult novel person. I just like those more. I don't mind the other ones, and I think they have very compelling stories. I would agree Midnight Horizon was probably the best of the bunch during that last wave of Phase 2, Phase 1, sorry. But I don't know. I do tend to gravitate to the adult novels because it just feels like some of the meatier, heavier thematic things happen in those books as you would probably expect to happen. And so that's kind of where I put a lot of my share and stock into those Star Wars storytelling. And
I'm having to switch up here because I think I grabbed one of the wrong screenshots.
Oh, no, you're good.
So here's everything all at once from, thanks for the folks over at Reddit for posting this.
Okay, so they've split these up now, right? So they've got the adult novels on top, young adult novels down at the bottom, trial or the middle grade at the very bottom, and then they've got them listed by waves. Okay, so, well, that's So
sorry for twisting.
No, you're good. I'm trying to think how we can kind of dissect this. Well, maybe, I guess just looking at this,
maybe we should go by waves.
So that's the first wave. Second wave is Temptation of the Force. So Tessa Gratton's got that one. Tears of the Nameless by George Mann. That's fall of 2024. And then Beware the Nameless by Zoraida Cordova.
Tears of the Nameless jumps out to me. I mean, it's George Mann, which is awesome, right? But Tears of the Nameless, I mean, anything with the Nameless, it just seems like has the potential for gold, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the one I'm really excited about. Again, keep learning more. I'm not burnt out on the levelers. I'm just not. I think there's just so much there. There's got to be more to that story. We're getting a little bit more of that in Phase 2, but I just love that we are bringing more of that to light, and we can get more of that content. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, Lauren, how about you?
Definitely Tears of the Nameless. That title is just it's a striking title, and it's making me wonder what type of story this could be. Like, that title stands out to me more than any of the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
Temptation of the Force is a curious title, though. That one's that fascinates me, I think, as much as any of the other ones, even if the story of the Nameless kind of surfaces to the top. But the title of that one really is kind of intriguing.
It is. The first person that comes to mind when I hear Temptation of the Force would be somebody like Elzar Mann, given that he's been on the ropes. He's he's been easily tempted in the past. And again, it's so far ahead, we don't know where this is going to go just yet. And plus, this is wave 2, so by then it probably will firm up a little bit about who potentially that could be. But as of right now, at the end of Phase 2, if there's anybody can be tempted, it could be him, or it could Avar Kriss. Yeah, I'd put her in that bunch as well.
You talking yet with her?
No, not yet. She's not returning any of my phone calls at this point.
Probably dwelling on the past.
Yeah. Okay, and then the last one, Trials of the Jedi, which I'm going to just go ahead and tell you right now, that's the one I want, because that's Charles Soule. It buttons up everything.
Yeah, it does, but man, that next one.
Into the Light by Claudia Gray, spring of 2025, and then A Valiant Vow, which is Justina Ireland back in, same thing, spring of 2025.
It's kind of cool. We get 3 of the originals to close us out, though. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is pretty cool that we have all of those. But man, Lauren, which one is it for you? Is it between which of these 3? I can't. I'm having a hard time deciding between Claudia Gray and Charles Soule. Which one I'm more excited about? Even though Charles is bringing up the caboose here for this, for the Project Luminous effort.
Yeah, I'm excited about Into the Light. Into the Dark was another one of my top High Republic reads as well, for me personally. So I think Into the Light sounding like it might be complementary to that. I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, I read that as the inverse of it, right? Into the Dark was kind of like the beginning of a lot of the darkness, right? And this, I mean, as much as Trials of the Jedi is going to be very somber, a lot of bad stuff is going to happen, it still has to end on a positive note, right? Because we get the Jedi prevailing in the end, pre-events of Acolyte, or maybe in that part around that area. So there's got to be some hope here, and I would expect this is probably going to be the hopier, that's not a word, the hopeful book of the wave. So, and who better to write something like that than Claudia Gray, right? So
I'm with you. It is a nice counterbalance to what she written previously, and it's going to bring back these same characters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we got even more content kind of in between all of these spaces with Tales of Light and Dark. Is that what it was?
Yeah, Tales of Light and Dark.
Yeah, I'll have to go back to the other screenshot here after we kind of wrap this one up. But what do you, so real quick, drawing back from that, what do you think about the timeline? So we're talking about like this starts in the late fall 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And this goes all the way to the spring of 2025. So we're talking 18 months worth of content. And Michael Siglain made the comment that this was deliberate, that they're trying to space this content out more. And Lauren, we didn't talk about this, but I could hear you screaming in excitement and saying, yes, please, and thank you from 1,000 miles or for 800 miles away, however far we are. How'd you respond to those types of comments from him?
Yeah, I am glad to hear that they're spacing it out. As much as I have enjoyed High Republic, one of my concerns about it has been that at times it has felt a bit rushed. And so I think it's great that they're going to be taking a little bit more time, especially because this is a lot of books that we're looking at. I mean, 18 months, I mean, they could even space it out more, honestly, if they wanted to, in my opinion, because it's a lot of content that they're releasing. So I think taking the time and doing it right and also giving readers a chance to catch up is a good thing.
Yeah.
Especially this first wave. I mean, when you have a couple of months between each title, I think that's essential. I mean, and I'm with you, Laura. I think it's been the pace that they've done it. They wanted to get a lot of content out very quickly, which I understand. And with phase 1, that made sense. But then we started coming into just the real world challenges of getting the publishing, the paper, right? Getting the printing, getting the books distributed, all of the logistical problems that came out of a post-COVID type of world. It just compounded a lot of this. So they were all kind of stepping on one another's toes at some point, and it really made it difficult to keep up with and stay engaged and really focus on the story, and less so about, God, where does this fit? Does this fit in this timeline? Which one was supposed to come first? Now the comics are out of whack too. And so it'll be nice to be able to have some space to breathe. And like you said, for other people to catch up if they're really behind or if they want to start, and then be able to ease in some of this. Now the stuff in spring 2025, not surprising, those will all be more or less aligned because again, they're probably all feeding off that same climax of the story and that final resolution and different perspectives on some of that. So I think I have a lot more tolerance with wave 3 because this is truly the end of this phase of the project overall.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing I would add to this is I wonder how much of, I mean, there's a tight integration with Acolyte, and I think they're sticking to the script, no pun intended, in terms of like when they were going to release these books and the TV show. But at some point, this is the expanded, the elongated timeline is certainly good for people that have already been vested in the books and want to get caught up, that sort of thing. But I think they're also anticipating they're probably going to have an onrush of people coming to the High Republic era because of the television series, right?
Yeah, quite possibly.
There's going to be a natural pickup of those people, and so. Well, yes, it's going to benefit us as people that have already invested in this whole thing. I think they are anticipating this for newcomers, people that are like, wow, this is a really cool series, or I'm really enjoying this particular aspect of Acolyte. I want to know more. How did we get here? Who the heck is Vanessa Rowe? And this would give those people ample time to jump back into phase 1, phase 2 before taking the plunge into phase 3. So I think it all makes sense. And we're going to benefit from just, a long, long road here of content coming from this particular era.
Right. So what do you think about these short stories overall? We've got a lot of the Project Luminous authors in here. We're going to get Alyssa Wong in the Barnes & Noble version. We'll flash that cover up here soon. But any major takeaways in these stories that seem interesting? These are kind of more short stories oriented, but anything in here that stood out to you?
Buriaga. I mean, there's like, I don't even know what, like they were on stage and everybody was talking about this and that. And everybody was like, oh yeah, cool. That looks cool. But this is where the panel got stuck, right? When they put Charles Soule on the spot here.
Well, Christina Ariel was doing a lot of putting on the spot.
She was doing a lot of the egging on.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. But he's just such a beloved character. And Charles Soule kind of did it to himself because he opened up this can of worms of saying that, hey, we might find out the fate of Buriaga in this story. And like we're done. Like this is the whole reason I'm going to buy this book. But that's my answer. Short answer. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut everybody else off. But Lauren, which one are you looking forward to?
Well, I second that. I would love to know what happened to Buriaga, and I hope the answer to that is that he lived. But I mean, overall, I think all of these sound exciting, and I think kind of having like shorter form stories as well to kind of complement the novels that we have. I think that'll be great too, just to kind of have different forms of storytelling going on all in this era.
Yeah, we should probably note too that these stories they jump around. So some are before phase 2, some are at the end of phase 3. I mean, they're all over the place.
Before phase 1, I think.
Yeah, there is some in there.
Yeah, it's really crazy. They are all over the place. Yeah, I think for me it was the Bell Zedifar angle of I'm not going to make the same mistake that I had with Loden Greatstorm, right? But it was also cool to hear a pre-phase 1 Loden and Bell story.
Mm-hmm.
To have that partnership and be able to hear what that tutorship was, I think is something you've been asking for since the day one.
Yeah.
The first time we read The Light of the Jedi, right? And then definitely after the second novel. And
Rise and Storm. Ugh.
Yes, I mean, ever since that, we're finally getting that backstory, and we're getting more Bell Zedifar, which I think is always a great thing. But I think maybe even better, we will finally understand what makes Loden Greatstorm so great, for lack of a better word, and to have that relationship really, transpire on the page. I think it's going to be fantastic.
Well, I think learn more about what makes him so great. I think they did a pretty good job in The Rising Storm of making him compelling enough and making us feel that hurt. Right. And the only thing I think is, I love the fact that they're going back there, but man, it feels like he's just doing this to set us all up and tear us right back down again, because it's just going to make us love this character even more so and make the hurt again for a second time.
Well, good for you is that Kevin Scott's not part of Wave 3 at all.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like, they're telling the story. They're going to give us even more reason to hurt because he dies in The Rising Storm, is how I'm looking at that.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Well, that's what I was going to say, too, is I could see myself reading about Loden Greatstorm and then just once again being frustrated that I want more of him. I want more time with that character. Yeah.
I've already gone through all the stages of grief with him, and they're just going to, I'm going to regress again. So, well,
your therapist thinks so.
Yeah. This is an interesting thing, though. And I this is so bizarre. There is a Barnes and Noble exclusive version of this, which is going to have a story by Alyssa Wong. I don't understand this. Like, why would you segment or isolate a writer when you're almost kind of pushing everybody to Barnes and Noble to pick this up? Why would this seems unfair?
Well, I mean,
I don't like it. It feels dirty, in my opinion.
I don't like it either. I'd like everybody to be able to pick the book they want, the cover they like, wherever they go. And so there's a couple things that come into mind. And Lauren, you're probably very well versed in some of this stuff. Maybe give me some insight here. But it seems like, one, the story may have been a late inclusion to where they had to go and make a deal with someone, or they made a deal with Barnes & Noble saying, hey, we want something tangible and something really exclusive. Can you give us something like an extra story? And then we had this new opportunity to bring in a new author and do something like that. I think that part probably feels a little worse than, hey, we've got a late cover to it, got a great idea, it fits here, but we can't fit it with any other deals. Hey, Barnes & Noble steps up to the plate and say, hey, well, yeah, we'll do it. Let's just make a custom edition for it. We just want it to be exclusive. And they're like, everybody's like, okay, well, we made it work.
Yeah.
I could also see, like, it seems it's pretty common for people who are really, really into the books to be willing to purchase multiple editions. So they might be expecting that the people that want this story, they will buy both editions. I don't really like that, because I feel like people shouldn't have to buy both editions. Because like for me, when I look at that, I love the cover of the other one, but then I would want to also be able to read the story that's in the Barnes & Noble one.
Right. Give me a really cool cover to go with this extra edition I'm going to have to go buy.
Right. Like, I don't want to have to buy both of them, but I know that a lot of people are willing to do that. So that might have factored into their decision as well to do this.
And I get it from Barnes & Noble perspective, right? They're going to be like, no, this is the one you want to buy. Everybody should just buy the Barnes & Noble edition, right? Because this got
everything.
It's the full one. It's the deluxe version, if you will.
Yeah, this always rubbed me the wrong way. They used to do it a lot when DVDs were a thing.
Yeah, video games have done this.
Video games have done it a lot. They continue to do it. I think where video games have finally kind of leveled out or started making sense of all this is
it's nice to have stuff.
Yeah, they're like cosmetic kind of things, right? They're not quality of life type enhancements in the video game itself. And this feels very different. This is not just a cosmetic thing. It's not like an exclusive cover. I went and bought all the covers. I am one of those people. I bought every single freaking cover of all the books already, right? But
Exhibits A through AA.
But this feels different, like I said, because it feels like, okay, it feels like I am being forced because I am a completionist. I want to have this story, and I don't want to resort to like piracy to go find this, right? Or go download some PDF illegally, but and I'll buy the book. I mean, I'm not like, who am I kidding here, right? But I know there are people that have a limited income and have to make decisions about what am I going to get, and it just feels like they're driving those people to the Barnes and Noble. That just doesn't rub me the right way. I hope it's something more noble, like you're saying, like, oh crap, we really want to get in here. We've already locked up these deals. Hey, Barnes and Noble. Oh yeah, sure, we'll do it for you, kind of thing. That feels better to me, but
Probably not.
probably not the reality of it.
Right. I tell you what, though, the one thing that I am super excited about, if you're talking about just art alone, is this Night of Sorrow. And I wish I could get this other stuff to go away here, but I apologize.
Yeah, and what we're looking at here is just the nameless, the leveler, right? With 2 Jedi in their eyes.
Yeah. And one of them does not look like Bell Zettifar, or does it? Maybe it's Keith Trennis. It actually kind of looks like Keith Trennis. And then the other Jedi is dressed in white. But man, just the quality of the art. This is why I love comics, though, is you get things like this. And there's no context for what this is. I don't think. Lauren, did we get any context for what Night of Sorrow truly is, or who's even doing it? They literally gave us a title in this artwork, and I think that was it, right?
I did not find a lot of context about this. No, I think what I got from it was just the artwork and the title.
So it was mentioned in Out of the Shadows, and it was mentioned in Midnight Horizon. I don't remember the context of the event, but officially, I think this ends the phase 2, does it not?
Right.
Like the very last thing that comes out.
Correct. This is the official end of phase 2 is Night of Sorrow.
Yeah.
There is something related to Cataclysm that it's possible that this is referencing, but it is a spoiler. So I don't want to say that because that book just came out, but that's the answer might be in Cataclysm.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I was kind of hoping, because they were beating around the bush with, they didn't announce everything. They gave us all of the books for all of phase 3, but they didn't give us any of the audio dramas or any of that type of stuff. And we've got a comic panel tomorrow and Monday, of course. So more to come in those spaces, but I was hoping that this was going to be some sort of another audio drama, which would have been really cool. But they've given us, I'm presuming this is a book. It looks like a mouse pad to me. I don't know.
Maybe it's just a mouse pad.
I'd be all right with this. I would buy the deluxe edition of the High Republic video game just so I can get
just to have this. Yeah. All right. So we'll kind of do some research and get to the bottom of this for ahead of tomorrow's show. But let's wrap up let's kind of end it there on the High Republic stuff, and just kind of quickly segue into the Return of the Jedi. Of course, this was the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. There was this cool poster that Jonesy's pulled up right now. It's coming back to theaters April 28th. We checked like 2 minutes before coming on the air. Tickets are still not on sale, at least here in the U.S. I think we got a longer run than the U.K., which tracks because it doesn't feel like anybody likes anyone in Hollywood over in the UK, but that's just how it's always been.
Yeah. So for the US, it's going to be April 28th through May 4th. So kind of, telling there, but also April 28th to May 1st for the UK. No other country.
They don't even get to celebrate on May 4th. Look at that.
It's really just the weekend too.
So terrible.
Yeah. And again, I'm sure there's just things going, but other regions will apparently be announced later. I mean, it's April 8th today, so hopefully sooner rather than later.
Right.
But yeah, so those times and when they'll go on sale, those types of information will still come out. They were suggesting people check StarWars.com. You'll probably find it faster somewhere else, but that's where it goes. But talking about the artwork on this poster, though, it was really important as they went back and redid this art and they revisited it. And I apologize, I missed the name of the artist here, but it was very much about Vader and Luke and the Emperor as the focal points of this artwork. And I think this is absolutely beautiful. It's
they nailed it.
It's framed with Endor kind of on the bottom and around the sides, but with the throne room encompassing the main area above the title, with Palpatine going to Luke and then moving to Vader, and everything else kind of around it from a space and the throne room aesthetic, and maybe kind of like the Falcon almost in some way. So, but just beautiful, beautiful artwork. Is this something that you'd be interested in going to see? I'm not asking about a day. That sounds really weird, but no, is this something you'd actually go and see? These
get her coffee first.
Okay. Well, I bought her a bunch of podcasting equipment.
No,
but is this something that, like, when they do re-releases like that, do you like to go and experience these in the theater? Because I mean, you're a bit younger. Your opportunity to see these has been much more limited than old people like us.
Yeah, I like it when they do the re-releases. I remember several years back when they did the Phantom Menace re-release, I went to that too, because it's just, there's something special about seeing it in the theater. So I think it's great when they do this, and I would definitely see it.
Yeah, it's more about the experience.
Right.
We've talked about that a number of times, and Star Wars in particular, but movies in general should be an experience, and that's the key differentiator between seeing that at home, unless you've got a really expensive setup, and seeing it in the movie theater, right? So the
real question is going to be, are they going to change it again?
Oh, I would imagine so. Like, it feels like they do every time there's a version release, they tweak something.
Right.
And I don't even keep track. I used to keep track of it all. I don't even keep track of it. It's like, oh, okay, that's been changed. But
yeah, I mean, we just got a relatively recent version just a few years ago, right? Just 2 or 3 years ago. So I imagine that might be the one that comes around. But again, you're so right. It's about the experience of going to the theater, watching it with the people you love and your friends and family, and being able to enjoy a room full of people all there to celebrate this movie. It's kind of like Star Wars Celebration light in that kind of way, because it is an event when it's these small, week-long windows. You get to, and the only experience you don't get to enjoy is the lining up outside the theater, because it's just not necessary anymore.
Yeah.
But everybody dressed up, everybody with their lightsabers, everybody, like, there's the energy in these rooms at these premieres and in these events is just, it's so palpable. You get goosebumps on your arms. And so if you haven't done this, or if you've not experienced this, the last time I saw Return of the Jedi in theaters was for the special editions.
Oh, yeah, that was a different time, but yeah, that was an experience.
Late 90s, right? I mean, that was THX was a new thing in the theater. I had to come all the way to Austin actually to watch it, because that was where the THX theaters were at. So I had to drive an hour or so to get down here. But I mean, it's just something you don't get to experience very often. So going back and revisiting it is something I'm really excited. I hope I get the opportunity to do this.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And if they did, cut this poster in some way, I'd love to have a copy of it. I think they hit it out of the park. I've seen a lot of Return of the Jedi posters over the years, officially and unofficially. This is like one of the best ones I think they've ever done. I'm not just saying that. It's just so beautiful. It's the contrast with the colors too is amazing in here.
Yeah, and Music Train did ask, we'll repeat this one more time. So he was asking how long it's in theaters for. In the US, it's in theaters from May 28th to May 4th. In the UK, May 28th to May 1st, and then other countries yet to be named. And when it goes on sale, as of before we came on air about half an hour ago, still not available on sale. So no idea yet there. Mm-hmm. And we checked kind of the major ticket vendors and haven't seen anything
Gotcha.
yet.
Most of them will let you sign up. If you're in the US, you can sign up to get notified when they go on sale. But if you're on social media, I guarantee you're going to probably see something posted within seconds once they're on sale. So let's just quickly talk about the panel. It was a good panel. Like, I really enjoyed it. I mean, Ming-Na Wen, she's so
cool.
Cool. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
She's just so engaged. Well, I know. Yeah. You have a crush on her.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. She's absolutely beautiful, but she's just so engaging.
Yeah.
I mean, she's just got so much personality, and her love for Star Wars just continues to. I mean, I also watched her interview session too, and she just brings it every single time. The smile on her face. Her social media is always fun to watch as well.
Yeah.
And seeing her engage and pull all this, kind of the new era with the original era, with her versus them. And it's just really cool to see that intermingling of it all too.
Yeah. And this panel started on the technical side, right? Doug Chang was in there, a couple other people on the creation side of it all.
Neil Scanlon, yeah.
Yeah. Eventually, they kind of segued and they brought in some of the actors. So Anthony Daniels, Ian McDiarmid was there, Warwick Davis, Billy D. Williams came out at the very end. I'm trying to think who else was. They had a real quick greeting at the very beginning from Mark Hamill. Yeah. Video only, but basically saying, hey, be nice to everybody. I love you. Sorry I couldn't be there, kind of thing. What you would expect from something like for Mark Hamill to say. But
another one from Harrison Ford a little bit later on as well, with the same type of message that he loves everyone, appreciates what this has done for him, and even said, may the force be with you guys.
Yeah. So it was a great panel. Lauren, did you get a chance to watch it? And if so, I guess give us one thing that stood out for you that was kind of a highlight, or something maybe even that you might have learned in watching.
Well, building off what you said about Ming-Na Wen, she's just a delight to watch, and it always speaks so much to me when you can see that the actors truly love Star Wars just as much as we do. That's just so special to me. So, I mean, she was really, honestly, for me, she was the shining star because I really love her.
She's such an ambassador for the franchise,
She really is.
And it's somebody who, I mean, she's still relatively new. Like, she's not been around forever in this series. She's still relatively new to the franchise.
Just a couple years, yeah, right.
So to be that, to be held in that, or to be that way, to be that ambassador and be held in that regard, I think says a lot to what Lauren's talking about in her fandom. What about you?
I really liked the interactions between Warwick Davis and Anthony Daniels.
Oh yeah,
they trade jabs a little bit, but they just show that they share this joy of living in those moments and being able to. Of course, Warwick was a kid in that, back in those days,
just a baby.
Yeah, he was really young, and so it was really awesome just to see that dynamic between the two of them, and that play between them. You just tell there's just such a mutual love and respect for one another, and those types of conversations are really contagious, especially among the original characters, because we don't get as much of it anymore. And for unfortunate reasons, sometimes because they're older, or they're having, they've passed away. But it's really awesome when we can see them come together and they actually enjoy being with each other. And you see the love, like we talked about with Clone Wars. We see that with some of our original beloved characters as well.
Yeah.
What about you? What stood out?
Well, I think I love the panel in general. All this behind the scenes stuff is always good to see, both from the technical side and then from the acting side, just behind the scenes and pulling back the curtain, kind of seeing how all this played out. Always good stuff to hear, see. I think a lot of the stories, some of the stories felt they were kind of repeated, but it's only because we've had 40 years of them talking about this stuff, right? So there weren't a whole lot of new revelations. I will say that as trivial as this is, when Ian McDiarmid came out and he said "Happy Anniversary" in the Palpatine voice, like I figured he would do and say something as Palpatine, but yeah, I had the goosebumps and I thought this is a great, like, he needs to just go record different things as Palpatine, put them on AmericanGreetings.com and let folks send cards to each other with him.
I need him for my Google Maps, I think.
Yeah, right, exactly. Or maybe replace Siri with Palpatine. But it was just cool to see all those guys up. I mean, we're blessed that they're still around. Like you said, they're getting up there in age, and we may not have some of these folks around for much longer. So it's just a blessing to be able to kind of see them firsthand.
Yeah, and I didn't quite realize Billy Dean Williams is actually having an autobiography coming out here pretty soon as well. No release dates on any of that, but that was pretty interesting as well. I thought it sounded somewhat familiar, but it sounds like that is coming too. So I think that's an opportunity for people to go and learn a little bit more about Billy D. Williams, individually across all of his career as well.
What's the name of the book?
Oh, What Have We Here?
Yeah, thank you.
What have we here?
Thank you. I'm saying, come on, dude. I set you up, right, for that one. But yeah, good panel. Let's talk about the Clone Wars panel. So this was the 15th year anniversary. Probably the best panel of the day, in my opinion, for a lot of personal reasons. I guess, same kind of thing. I'll start with you on this one. But of the panel, we can't talk about everything because there's not enough time. Well, there is enough time, but Lauren's got to go. I'm kidding. What's one thing that stood out for you from the Clone Wars panel?
I put 4 in the show notes, but okay, I'll try this fastly. It's always, man, Dave Filoni, the stories that he tells about his adventure through all of this and what it's meant to him. Again, seeing Dave Filoni get choked up, to me, gets me choked up because it's just really cool to see the man. Like
he did it twice today too, by the way.
He's been doing it like often. I think this is like the 3rd or 4th time minimum this celebration where you could just see that all of his dreams and aspirations that he wasn't sure were possible, because he tells the story about how he was hired in the conversation with George Lucas, and he left the interview saying, "There's no way they're going to hire me." And then he would have got the call. He's like, "Well, they made a mistake." I mean, so that self-doubt, that insecurity we all feel in some way was Dave Filoni, and then to see what he has created out of that career and what he's given to us, I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. It's just incredible. It's just something really, truly magical about this individual and just how special he is. And so it's really cool seeing that come across on camera and being able to be vulnerable with everyone to share that.
How about you, Lauren?
Well, it was really sweet in his first interview of the day when he looks out at the crowd and he's like speechless. Like, it's like he's stunned. You can see it on his face. And he's like, he couldn't even like answer the question. It was just really sweet. So I liked seeing that. But yeah, I also just, anytime we see the voice actors from the Clone Wars coming together, you can just see like how close they are and how much they love each other. And that's just so special to me that they have that. And one thing that they were saying as well too is that they feel like they've never really stopped playing these characters. Like they've never left them behind, because they, every now and then they do get brought back to do little things. And I think that's another thing that's really unique about this cast is it almost feels like their relationship to Star Wars is ongoing for the foreseeable future, really.
Yeah.
And they do so many conventions together, so they see each other often. They are friends. They banter back and forth on social media. They really are like a family, and they really truly seem to enjoy each other's company, which comes across again when you love working with the people you love, and especially when they brought Clone Wars back and that opportunity that they had to work. They've truly embraced it, and I think as a result, embraced the fans. I got to meet them very early on in the Clone Wars journey. This is like 1st, 2nd, 3rd season. They were doing the circuit all the time. And so I was able to see them multiple times, and every single time these core people were awesome every single time, and they got warmer and warmer every time. They understood the fan, they understood us better, and being able to have them embrace us and understand us a little bit better too. So it was a very bi-directional type of kind of relationship kind of forming. It was really cool to be able to experience some of that firsthand as well.
Yeah. There was a moment in there. I want to talk. I guess my favorite moment is going to be of Filoni, and I'll kind of come back to that just really quickly. But there was a moment in there towards the very end of the panel where they were all reciting lines as their characters, and this is not the first time they've done this.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But it was so funny because I think it might have been I think it was James Arnold Taylor, or JT, whatever.
James Arnold Taylor.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what his quick name is, but I think he started it with the Satine quote. And then it turned into something about a Jedi. And of course, Ashley Eckstein comes in and says, I am no Jedi. That got the crowd going. Well, then it was like everybody else had to step in and do a line. So then Matt Lanter came back. This is where the fun begins. And it just kept going and going and going. And it's just stuff like that, you know.
It's like what you do when you're with your friends. Like all of a sudden, it's like a quote off.
Yeah.
Almost. It's just so much. They're the
but
character.
They're the quotes, right? It's their quotes that we're doing it. So I always enjoy when they do that. And it seems like it's just part of the what do you call it? The gig, right? Anytime they come up on stage and do these interviews, at some point someone is going to start it, and it's just a matter of who can rein them in before it gets out of control. Going back to Dave Filoni, he got choked up, like I said, in this one. He came back a little bit later for the live celebration interviews. He had another moment, I would say, of weakness. I wouldn't say weakness, that's probably not a good word, but just where he just got stunned, right, with the reality of everything. And I think, like I said, I've now said this twice, this does feel like it's, Filoni's world, and you got to think somebody like that, right? Especially his story, kind of what you were talking about, how he started, didn't think he was going to get there. And then to have everybody not only place the burden of this the burden and responsibility of the franchise on his shoulders, but then everybody just be like, yeah, it's one thing for people to say, this is yours, go fix it or go make it good. But then everybody supports you at the levels at which he's being supported. And then the extension of that, and this is where the choking up comes in. The extension of that is that reflection that's coming back from the audience, and that reciprocation of that, like, hey, we trust you, right? It's not the crew. These are the people, the audience, the fans. We're telling him, yeah, you're the one. We were putting all bets are in with you. All our chips are over with you. Please make this happen. We trust you. And I think I think that is all on his shoulder. I think it's in the back of his mind, probably at this convention more than any other time in his life.
Yeah.
Because he's got everybody from Kathleen Kennedy to Jon Favreau to all the creators, all the actors, the set people, design people. His name just comes up in every single interview. So
it's one thing to have your hand in the cookie jar. It's one thing to have all of those cookies be your doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it is for Dave Filoni. And highly encourage everyone to go out there and watch this. And actually, I read on Dale on the YouTube channel for Star Wars for this panel. They didn't do a timestamp on everything, so Dale actually did the yeoman's work and made his own little timestamp. Everyone, for people to go out there and see which segments were. So shout out to Dale, and be sure to give him a like if you find that useful and you're able to get to what you need. So be sure to go do that.
Yeah. Let's see. So let's last thing on this one. There was the reveal again for Tales of the Jedi season 2. Not a lot of details in here. There was some really good stuff here in terms of like the quotes. He said Tales of the Jedi was really fun for the first time, so I decided to do more. The part after that, though, again, speaking about Dave Filoni, the part after that was the most telling piece of all this for me. He actually went on to talk about how he's using this as a vessel for passing on the torch, similar to what George Lucas did to him. He's now using Tales of the Jedi as a medium, as a format to teach what he even called them his young Padawans, right? So he's bringing in this younger talent. He's basically building the team, building his base, his bench of people, so that at some point one of these will likely be the successor to Dave Filoni, right? Much in the same vein that George Lucas was. So, and he acknowledges much. He said, "I want this to be something that lives on beyond me," right? That Disney animation, Lucasfilm animation is going to have people that understand the craft and understand the George Lucas way of thinking. I mean, he specifically called out George Lucas and George Lucas's approach to storytelling as something that he is handing down, right? So this is very coveted knowledge. I think for the most part, everyone would agree that this has been coveted by him. He's been kind of that, the second coming, and now we're looking at possibly a third, fourth coming.
I think what came across in a lot of what Filoni was saying in this panel, as well as other interviews, is this idea of teaching and passing on what you've learned, right? I mean, it's the very nature of Star Wars. It's George Lucas in a nutshell. George, when he talked to Dave Filoni about taking on Clone Wars, it was very much about, I want you to usually have a voice acting director, and you have the overall, project director. George wanted him to do everything. Like, you need to learn how to do this. Learn how to direct people individually. Learn how to direct an ensemble. Learn all of the things, because it just makes you better to understand everything that's going around you. And it's really, really cool that he's going to pass all of this back on to others as well. Because this is what you do. Like, when you get, like, with succession planning at work, that's one thing. I think Filoni gets it, like George Lucas did to an extent. The idea of legacy as you get older is really, really important, right? What have you left your mark? And it's not so much what you've done; it's so much what someone else is going to do and take. It's like Luke in Last Jedi, and then Yoda, not Luke in Last Jedi. We are what they grow beyond.
Yeah, the quote.
Yeah, so it's a wonderful thing that those are actual real actions that they want to do. But I'll kind of pause there. Lauren's probably got something to add on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree, and I think it's great to have this sort of like direct mentorship. Like, I think that's a great pattern that they're establishing, because I think that's important for keeping the spirit of Star Wars alive. And even though, there's going to be changes, it's not always going to be the exact same thing over and over again. That approach to storytelling that you were talking about, that is what makes Star Wars special. So I think having someone who has done the storytelling, actually mentoring new people to come in and take over, I think that's a great way to preserve that.
Yeah.
It's a great way to grow your franchise over time too. This is how you invest in your future. This is investing in your people, investing the time, the effort, and the experience, and to have people who really buy into that are the teachers and the mentors. That's such a great way of putting it, Lauren. This is the future. This is really the way, so to speak.
You're right. All right. Well, let's I guess this last piece here. Let's talk about the other interviews that happened. Again, talking about the stuff that was going on the Celebration live stage. There was. Let's talk about Leslie Headland and her kind of she's the showrunner, executive producer for Acolyte. She came out. I loved everything about her interview. Especially what resonated most with me is she didn't say her age, but she was definitely speaking about the dark times, right? That period about between 1983 and probably just up until Heir to the Empire. And some have even argued it's beyond that, because really we didn't have the amount of Star Wars content that we certainly have today. But I love the fact that she was talking about that period of time and how that really meant a lot to her, because it's all we had, and she was kind of cut from that cloth. But what stood out for you from that interview?
Well, I think it's a lot of that too. It's about her wanting to bring stories and from angles that we don't have, that we haven't had historically to this, and being able to say, man, what are the things that really interested me during that period that really spurred my own creative innovation? And what do I take from there? And so the idea of bringing the villain, or giving us the villain's perspective, even though the villain's perspective is always a bit complicated, and she acknowledges as much too. Mm-hmm. But just hearing that and understanding her, like, she didn't expand upon this, but she said Star Wars saved my life, and it was such an emotional moment that you just know there's so many layers beyond that, and I don't know the backstory to that, but just knowing that Star Wars has such a deep meaning to someone, you just know that love. And that respect for it is all going to go into the project that you're working on. And to me, that always bodes really well. And so just having that genuine moment from her, I think, was really important. And those are the things like Star Wars Celebration really excel at. Yeah.
Lauren, do you have any, did you get a chance to watch the interview with Leslie Headland?
Yeah, I loved just the way that she was speaking about this specific tongue twister, this specific story that she was wanting to tell. Like, you could just hear the passion in her voice coming forward, and that made me really excited for the show. I mean, more than I already was. Because you can just hear that this story and like this exploration of the spirituality aspect is something that has a deep meaning to her, possibly relating to the Star Wars saved my life comment, just speculating. But
and she broke down when she said that too. So I mean, there was a lot of genuine sincerity in just what Star Wars did, and this is not uncommon. We hear this all the time from people.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it just struck me to see someone with which, and this can be said about a lot of the creators, but someone with such passion at the head of this show, it was like her excitement was like transferring to me.
Infectious, yeah, in that regard.
Right. I love the one quote she had. She said, Star Wars is always about the spiritual journey of what it is to become who you are. And it was just such a beautiful quote.
Yeah. The other thing, as far as her interview goes, I was trying to think, there was one other thing that stood out. Oh, it was just the fact that she had a comment in there too about, hey, you may not, and this is, I felt like I was like, yes, thank you. This is exactly what we've been saying on the show. and I'm probably putting words in her mouth, but essentially he was saying Star Wars is huge. You're not going to like everything. That ship sailed, 20 years ago, where it was one flavor of ice cream, and that was George Lucas. At this point, there's so many different flavors of ice cream, right? Continue with that stupid analogy. And so there's going to be things you're not going to like, and that's totally fine. I mean, she literally said, if you don't like this, that's okay. I'm not going to hate you. She's not going to force this upon you.
Be respectful, though.
It may not be what you like, but there's probably other stuff out there, right? And her point was leave everyone else the hell alone, right? Because there's no reason to go start, putting your finger in their ice cream. So all that was good. I think she has a good head on her shoulders. I'm really excited about the future of the show, the prospects of the show, and certainly I think she's gonna bring her own unique style and take to Star Wars. And what better vessel to use that on? That's something set in pre the Phantom Menace and having Sith, the beginning of the origins of the Sith again.
Exactly. So we'll touch on a couple more. I think we should wrap on the Andy Serkis interview, because I think that was really emotional.
Here we go.
Have enough time there. But yeah, Matt Lanter, just to go back to James Arnold Taylor, Matt Lanter, one of the more interesting comments in that panel, or in that the interview stage, was that the really quiet moments with Satine when she was dying with James Arnold Taylor were actually ad-lib. And so it's always cool to kind of hear that it's just whatever emotion takes you in that moment, and even voice actors not physically cradling you, as I just tried to cradle Albert very awkwardly. But it
was wonderful to see.
Was it? This is what you get when you guys together.
It wasn't wonderful to feel, but okay, yeah.
Just go with it.
Yeah.
Just let go with it. Yeah, but no, it's just really cool to be able to hear that voice actors get in those moments too, and you just find that zone. And so I thought that was really interesting about that.
Well, it speaks to how invested they are in the characters, right? And it's an extension of what we were just talking about when they get on stage and you can see they're that passionate. Well, yeah, this because they had a real hard connection there, physical connection.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so Andy Serkis. Your Snokino Loy theory seems to have been poo-pooed on by the actor himself, or are you taking a different spin on this, Jonesy? What do you think?
Well, I think he's a dirty, rotten-faced liar. So he, he basically he made a lot of light of, not a lot of light. He was very respectful, of course, but he really, really nervous about taking this part for Lino Coy because, and I would be too, right? You're so embedded with Snoke and you understand that character, and trying to come back and do somebody else, even though you weren't technically on screen. That gives you a little bit of anxiety, right? Because can I really do this right? Is it going to be too much? Are people going to ask about, be distracted by this character? Am I going to do a disservice to it?
Mm-hmm.
But then when he read the content, he was just hook, line, and sinker all in. But he basically said, no, there's absolutely no relation to it. I don't believe him. I think this is all subterfuge, and I don't believe him.
I don't appreciate that you used a water colloquialism with sink, line, and sinker when he can't swim, but that's just me. Lauren, I'm
a little insensitive at times. I apologize.
Lauren, what was your take on the interview there with Andy Serkis?
Well, it was great to hear a little bit more from his perspective about his experience, how he wanted to play the character, kind of his process for going through what his influences were and things like that. I know that he's kind of commented on it some before, but I feel like in this one we did get some more detail, which was nice. And just hearing how much he connected to the character and how much of his own, I know he said that he tried to put real life influences into it, which was really cool to hear as well. So I also love too, I did catch how he said that Kino knew from the start that he wasn't going to make it. And I was because I remember there was some debate on that. And
Laura's the only person that celebrates her sadness. Yes.
Okay, I was celebrating the fact that I was right in that I felt like he did know from the start, even though people were disagreeing with me. But so I was glad to hear.
Oh, they were disagreeing with me too.
Yeah.
Was it y'all were looking at me when you were talking? I think it was really telling though throughout that interview was that you did get to see the light bulb moments, and Andy Serkis talked about this too, when the moments of his past finally resurfacing, his own spiritual, reawakening of sorts was finally happening, and you could see it on screen that it came to life. But I think also these moments as he's going on, he recognizes his mortality, or whatever his end, his fate, is quickly coming to, a breaking point, or that final end point of whatever that actually is. And of course, he wouldn't commit to where the future of this character is. We didn't see a body. We didn't see him jump. We presume they captured and put him back to work or something like that. But we also know they're comfortable with frying everybody. So what they did with the character, we don't know. But there is hope. And again, this character is so loved. it would be really difficult for him just to be killed off screen, you know?
Yeah. I subscribe to there's, worse fates than dying. And that's why I kind of felt like he would probably go. I mean, what is he? He's not, I don't think he'd want to stick around for anything more. But either way, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love to see this character come back in the season 2 or see a fate of him later down the road here. I got a question too. Like there was one moment in there too when they were talking about the him feeling like trapped on set. And a lot of what we saw and filmed as part of this series was, during the COVID times. And, for a lot of us, there was a lot of pent up emotion, being in lockdown, almost physically. We were physically in lockdown here at different parts of our lives, at school, at work. And all that permeated into the stuff that we saw on the screen there. But Lauren, I guess for you, how did you take that part of the interview?
I mean, okay. Sorry, this is distracting. The chat is distracting me.
Yeah, I'm taking
gotta
care
be
of it.
honest.
I'm taking care of it. Yep.
Because I'm having a hard time following what y'all are saying.
Oh, okay. So I don't pay attention to these goons. I was talking about how he was kind of channeling that real physical lockdown presence because of COVID, how he was able to translate that into, what we saw on screen. Just any thoughts around that, and how do you feel he did with kind of transferring that energy, that negative energy of being in lockdown?
Okay, yeah, definitely. I mean, like you could feel that energy. I mean, watching those scenes was stressful, like in a very uniquely like visceral way. And so I almost felt like when he was explaining how they were feeling that way, I was like, that makes sense. Because even though those scenes were written in an excellent way, they were also acted in an excellent way. And, maybe that was some true emotion coming through that we felt.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the feeling of being trapped. I mean, and again, he talked about the desensitization over time of what they were experiencing, being in the costumes, being barefoot, COVID restricting anything they could possibly do. It was just great to have that feel of where you can actually feel that idea of snapping on set.
Yep. And this all kind of speaks to, and he didn't really say this, but there is something serendipitous about having, so Kathleen Kennedy talked about this, and I'm going to marry these two, but she was talking about how prior to COVID, it was all steam ahead in terms of making movies, right? That was the plan, and a lot of what we got with the sequel trilogy was kind of the first inklings of that. And then COVID came around, and it really changed the dynamic of what they were trying to do from a creative perspective. It changed the trajectory of where they were going to put their efforts. And so it just so happened that now they had to kind of move to television. They had to move to close kind of smaller sets and that sort of thing. So, and that really helped kind of spark a lot of what we got from Disney Plus with The Mandalorian, Cassian Andor, all the other series that have come out so far. And so to tie that with what Andy Serkis is saying is the same thing, right? I don't know that don't get me wrong, he's an amazing actor, but there probably were a lot of emotional charged performances because of COVID. So call it a silver lining, blessing in disguise, whatever you want to do. But there was some good things that came out as a result of that. And I think that's what he was trying to say here, is that probably enhanced his character's performance.
Oh, absolutely. When you feel like you're on a breakout and you're actually feeling like you are going to break out, I mean, that's got to be a very emotional response where you just kind of feel that energy. And as an actor, you just go with it, right? You just channel that. You just let that emotion come out because you felt it building up over weeks and weeks and weeks of filming. Not able to go anywhere. He talked about all the checkpoints they had after every take. They had to put the masks on. I mean, we all kind of felt that if we wanted to leave the house, or could you trust anybody coming in or out of the house, right? We all experienced it in some kind of way. So for them to be on set and have to live this life, and they're really just a very close-knit group of people, and it felt like being in prison. And so when they had those moments, it was really telling, as they progress and move that forward. It was really cool that those emotions had a lot of realism to them. And to Lauren's point earlier in the show, the inspiration that he was pulling, I think these were great stories, with his brother used to support or represent unions as well. And so he was like, okay, what would my former life had looked like when he was offered this part, and really worked from that to see where he was now of what he lost in order to reclaim that. And so workers' rights, having a really upstanding character, a family, but things that have just been stripped away from him, he had to basically let all of that go just to survive on his own, right?
Yep. All right. Well, I think that pretty much covers, I think, for the most part, all of the bigger highlights. Some of the stuff, again, we'll get into some more stuff here in just a second. But Lauren, I'll go to you first. Any final thoughts on day 2 or anything that we haven't spoken about so far?
I mean, I think we've covered it. There was a lot of really good. I mean, I would definitely recommend that anyone who hasn't watched those interviews yet to watch them, because I feel like we only scratched the surface with how good some of these were, and some of the emotions that they got into talking about in these was really great to hear from their perspective. So that was really what was special to me about today.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the Celebration live stage interviews, man, there are so many good ones. Like I didn't give them enough credit, and it's worth noting that this audience, this auditorium, if you will, or this space, is absolutely jam packed. Now it's always relatively full.
Yeah.
But when you and I were there, even back in 2019,
it didn't look like this.
It didn't look like this. Like this was standing room only, all the way in the back, wall to wall, every direction. There are people, and the people on stage are up and very energetic and interacting. And so it's just so awesome to watch this. And it's a pure joy. You know, the panels are great. You don't quite know when you're going to get one on the live stream, but these interviews are just fantastic. And so definitely worth your time. Go out to the Celebration website, see who's coming up, and take some time to go watch some of those videos. I think they're even going to have like Vivian Lyra Blair tomorrow, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Because I think tomorrow is the Obi-Wan Kenobi day on Sunday. So there's a lot of great content coming tomorrow. So if you love Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're going to get a lot of it tomorrow.
Yeah. And speaking of great content tomorrow, so as a reminder, we've got 2 more shows scheduled for tomorrow. First one will go on at 3 p.m., and that's going to be the Lucasfilm Publishing Showcase. We'll get into a lot of what we didn't get a chance to talk about today with the High Republic. Again, we've got some research and some stuff that we've got to get some notes down on everything they brought. There was so much detail that was thrown in those panels. So we'll do a deeper dive into that, the panel today, and then certainly the one tomorrow. That's at 3 p.m. Central. And then tomorrow night, we'll do a day 3 recap, similar to what we just did tonight, with everything else that was kind of covered, some of the highlight stuff that you may have missed.
Yeah, so thanks for coming out to the live stream, cantinacast.com/YouTube. If you want to catch into the live streams, make sure you subscribe so you get the notifications about a half hour early. Lots of great content, not only for Celebration, but of course for Jedi Novel Archive with what Lauren's got going on. So much great stuff coming out there. Check the website for anything that we've missed. If you want to, we have a Q&A show coming up, cantinacast.com/question. Get those questions over to us. We'll get a show here in the next couple of weeks, get that scheduled up. And if you are wanting to guarantee that your question will be read on air and be responded to, I think someone asked me for clarification, we're going to answer or respond. I guess technically it's just a response. So we're for, I don't know, thinking and talking about it, I guess. We'll answer it, whatever. We know, we have all the answers. This guy's a theory machine. So is Lauren. Don't let her kid you on that one. So yeah, so cantinacast.com/Patreon to guarantee that your comments will be read on air, and then you'll be able to get your questions answered there. So a lot of fun to come. We're halfway through the shows now. So we've done 3 of the 6. So we're just hitting our stride here.
Well, I don't know about that, but we are. No, I'm kidding. We are.
This guy needs more than 3 hours of sleep a night. So
yeah, it's going to be dead. So we'll get a chance to sleep tonight because we haven't really had that lately here. But yeah, okay. So we'll end the show there, and we'll see you guys back tomorrow, 3 p.m. Central, for the Lucasfilm stuff. And again, thanks for everybody joining us tonight, and good night.
You're still listening? Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm here to give you the disclaimer. Normally we do a big, long, drawn-out disclaimer thing saying what's what and who's what and all that other stuff, but I think you guys kind of know that Lucasfilm and Disney have no affiliation with us at all, and we have none with them. We talk about Star Wars, which is their property, and all that other good, fun stuff, but I think you can tell which is our stuff and which is their stuff. If you can't, well, then send a lawyer to send an email to me, and I'll be glad to chat with them. Other than that, you know what's what, so that's your disclaimer.